Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is episode number 34 of the F1 2018 Career Mode Championship, the Belgian Grand Prix. As you can see right there, we have the drag reduction upgrade go on the car in time for this race. It's going to be, you have no idea how effective that's going to be at a circuit like Spa. We've upgraded the car. Ferrari have done a major upgrade themselves on the same trajectory as us. Red Bull and Mercedes staying as they were in 3rd and 4th respectively. For this weekend, we have a weekend of rain. Pretty much the entirety of the weekend, apart from the race, is going to be full wet. And maybe the start of practice 3. We'll have to wait and see. So, we need to make sure we get some running in practice 3 at the start of that session to get a representative feel of the car. But otherwise, it's going to be one of those ones where we just have no idea what the car is going to do setup-wise. But, yeah, for this one, you can see that was a bit of a scary moment for us going up Eau Rouge in practice. I was, determined to run with a dry setup for this weekend, even though the entirety of the weekend is going to be wet. You just have to deal with it. The only place it was tricky was Eau Rouge. The back end was a little bit lively at other spots on the circuit, but you need to have the higher ballast. You need to run with less downforce to be a factor at this circuit. So we've got to live with the pain now. I think, we had a few moments over Eau Rouge. That one was the worst, of course, but most of the time you can get through there safely. You just need to back it off a little bit. So I need to be careful when it comes to qualifying, which is also going to be raining pretty hard. So let's go for qualifying now for the Belgian Grand Prix. The car is going to be a bit of a handful, but if we can get through quali, we'll be an absolute demon in the race.
It's qualifying time at Spa, one of the mightiest tracks on the Formula One calendar. Long straights, up and downhill, Eau Rouge as well. This track isn't for the faint-hearted.
Alright, so here we are for qualifying then. I actually had to limit my running in practice to make sure I had enough tyre sets to get through qualifying competitively. Like I said, the entirety of practice was raining. And I went through all the practice programs this weekend. I'm trying to get back on the grind for resource points. I want to see what Charles and myself can do with an even better car. But you can see there, that's a pretty big moment. Up Eau Rouge for the second time. Decided to push my luck a little bit more after I got the banker time in on the wets. And we just hit the inside curb, which is a death sentence even in the dry. So that was a big mistake on my part. Thankfully no damage, so that allows us to press on at the second half of the session, which is actually going to be moving on to light rain, I believe. So a couple minutes later, we fit on the intermediate tyres, shifting down to 7th gear now just to get the car through there safely, whack off a bit of speed, and we can actually punch off of Radeon there with 7th gear and a bit more torque, so that kind of helps. But anyway, through P1 now, you can see we're 1.2 seconds up. We're just, it's not even a great lap, it's just the conditions being a lot better, so make sure we get the time in, don't crash out, and we should be able to progress quite nicely through to qualifying number 2. You saw in the last episode in Hungary, we were ridiculous in the wet, and hopefully that can be the case this weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. We're sitting P14 at the moment, which isn't great, but we'll see if this is a bit more of a representative time across the line. It is P2. 1 second away from Van Dorn, who out of nowhere is a front-running car at the moment. That's another mistake up Eau Rouge. I decided again to push it just a little bit more because I got the banker time in. This time it's damage, and I think that will be the end of our session with the front wing change taken account for. So that's P5 at the end of Q1. And as we fast forward, we're 16th place! Are you serious? How did literally everyone find 3 seconds after we end? That's bullcrap. That is actual bullcrap. 5th place. Not far away from the lead, and then it was the end of the session as well, so, okay.
Great work out there today. How do you think it went?
No answer. Fair enough. Okay.
In the 48 races held at Spa between 1950 and 2015, the race winner has only started from pole position on 16 occasions. Qualifying yesterday may have set the order for today, but expect the unexpected here at the Belgian Grand Prix. As the saying goes, of course, anything can happen. And you know what? It usually does. Anthony Davidson is alongside me in the commentary box to take you through all the action today. Now, it's a closely matched field here in Spa, Ant, so where do you think we're going to see somebody make a difference?
If they're as close as we're expecting them to be, especially through the midfield, then being able to keep the front tyres in good condition could make the difference. You always lose a chunk of downforce at the front when you're in the turbulent air of another car, which tends to cause understeer, which in turn causes front tyre degradation. Now, too much damage there could force an early pit stop and put you at a slight disadvantage, so the drivers will want to be careful not to be too aggressive early on in the Grand Prix.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Kimi Räikkönen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, and Hamilton, Leclerc, Perez, Magnussen, and Carlos Sainz, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Stoffel van Dorn, and Hartley, Grosjean, Ocon, Lance Stroll, and Sergei Sorokin, Gasly, and Mr. Monaco. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, don't worry about making places into one, it's far too tight. Concentrate on a clean exit so you get good momentum down the Camel Straight.
Thanks, Jeff. Welcome, guys, to the Belgian Grand Prix. You can see we're starting last place. We've taken some engine penalties. We're down in 16th place. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. It may as well. I think this could be a blessing in disguise if we have a fresh power unit to really attack these guys with. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to start on the softs, and it looks like going to the supers at the end of the race is actually going to be the fastest strategy, which is absolutely outrageous. We'll take some fuel off as well to help with the tyre wear. That's something I've been doing a little bit lately. Not too sure if it helps all too much, but the fuel consumption of this car has actually been really good, so I don't really need to put all too much in the car, but here we go. 5 red lights, last place on the grid. Let's see if we can get anywhere near winning this race. Podium would be nice with a fresh engine, but we'll have to wait and see. Into turn 1, pretty late under brakes, but I didn't want to risk it as much as what I did in the last episode. That was just out of control. We find a couple of places at turn 1, which is nice to see, but this is... I absolutely love the first lap at Spa. The amount of positions you can gain going up the Camel Straight. This time, though, we didn't get a great exit off Eau Rouge. It was a little bit conservative there, and I actually lost the back end as well, so the momentum isn't that great. And we're actually not going to overtake anyone, which is a bit anticlimactic, to be honest. But there's a huge pack of cars, led by Alonso. Looks like there's a bit of a gap forming between him and the next group of cars. Maybe he's got some front wing damage. We'll have to wait and see. But into the middle sector, that was a lot like Hungary turn 1, and Van Dorn giving us the squeeze onto the grass. That's okay. That's a bit more what I'm used to, I suppose. But we'll have to, that's ridiculous. We'll have to tone that down a little bit. That was just silly, especially on the first lap. But we'll cruise into this race. We do have the soft compound tyres on. It's not like we have the mediums like from last race, so we should have a bit better pace at the start of the Grand Prix. It's just a case of waiting for these guys to burn out that battery, I suppose, a little bit. We'll see if we can attack the Honda up the inside. That's Hartley. Job done with him. And now literally everyone going defensive. Heading into the bus stop. We're going to see if we can go around the outside here. We get a couple of cars and even Nico Hülkenberg as well, who dives into the pit. So that's 3 in one go. Thank you very much for that. That's a very successful turn 1 done. Here's the replay. Around the outside of literally everyone. We've got the McLaren, we've got the Force India, and then Hülkenberg makes life so easy for us by pitting. So cheers. P13, great start. Now we can just get on with our race. We've cleared most of the lower midfield runners. That's still a little bit sketchy going through Eau Rouge, which has me a little bit worried for later on in the race when the fuel load is going to be a little bit lower, the car's going to be more agile, and the tyre wear, well, the tyres are just not going to have as much grip, are they? So that worries me. Might have to lower the downforce. I think I'm running like 2.6 wings. So we've gotten for somewhat of a little bit of a conservative downforce setup. I'd normally go 2.5 because of the rain. I compromised ever so slightly. This is Ocon going around the outside of us, by the way. Bit of a dive bomb into the understeering right-hander. I don't know what the corner name is. I think it's like turn 9 or something. I'm really bad for remembering names, so I just... Yeah, you know the deal by now. Grosjean's up next. Bus stop chicane. Looks like he is struggling a little bit for slow corner exits. And we'll see if we can make the most of that. We're not even in high fuel mixtures. We just... The engine is that good that we just had to tone it back a little bit. Otherwise, we'd be running into the back of him going up ruddy on. So that was a little bit tricky. Back up into Rich, overtook him on the Camel Straight, and that was pretty much done and dusted. Next up was Alonso and Sainz, battling for P10 in this race. Sainz has damage, by the way. The engineer told me at the start of this lap, and now Alonso is looking to pounce on that through Pouon. Sainz doesn't have the downforce, and now he's got a terrible run out of there, and it just holds us up a little bit. So let's see if we can get him up the inside here into this middle sector. Not quite close enough. It's really annoying because he's going slow enough for me to be able to attack him, but he's still keeping up a decent enough speed that I can't just dive bomb him from like outer space, which makes it really awkward here. He's really slow in all the wrong places. You can see how much Alonso has got away. We had to take to the grass there to overtake him around the outside. He's got a decent amount of straight line speed as well, which made things awkward. I thought I was going to get taken out there, but that's P11, the most awkward overtake you'll ever see. Team radio.
Charles currently in P9. Gap to teammate ahead is 1.9 seconds. They're on old super softs. The time last lap was a 1 minute 48.1.
1:48 from Charles. That's terrible lap time. We're in the 46s on the softs. So Charles must be in heavy traffic at the moment. We had one clear lap, kind of, where we did that 46. We overtook Alonso on that stuff and on that Camel Straight as well. So that is another position for us now in the points after only 4 laps. Everyone on the super soft tyres are going to be coming in, I'd say, on this lap or the next lap, or if they have tyre wear upgrades, probably like lap 7 possibly, or even later. But we get a virtual safety car on lap 4. Sergei Sirotkin is out of the Grand Prix. He was going slowly through the middle sector, and he just gets KO'd there with a mechanical failure. Interesting to see that none of the super soft runners really dived it in there for a new pit stop. That is, well, that's why Charles has got terrible pace. He's got front wing damage, so that's fantastic. We'll see that he's going to be falling like a brick in this Grand Prix. Virtual safety car is out, and we can go back to green flag racing. It's 3 wide down the Camel Straight. My teammate is overtaking the Haas, and I'm overtaking my teammate at the exact same time. Had to take to the grass for like the 3rd time in this Grand Prix to get that move done, and that is us up at a P8. This was scary because right as I was pulling out of the slipstream, Charles did the same thing on the Haas. My goodness, that is close. That is really, really close. You'll see just how close this is with the front wing. I took it a little bit conservative there. I left probably maybe too much space, but I just wanted to make sure that we didn't run into the back of our teammate. Job done. P8. What's a mental Grand Prix, and we're only 5 laps into this race. Next up, Sergio Perez. You can see he's quite a little bit up the road. That's another little moment there at the top of Radion. But we managed to negotiate. DRS is enabled. Overtake Rich Revs. Look at the slipstream. We're gaining so much on Perez, and we smash past him doing 350 kilometers an hour. That is ridiculous. That is up there with the radio.
Brilliant. Nice move.
Thanks, Jeff. That is right up there with the top speed I did with Arav in the YouTuber Championship overtake I did at Monza. Anyway, this is Sebastian Vettel, I believe, with a puncture. Real shame for him. He was right at the front there with Kimi Räikkönen, and the 2 Ferraris were getting away with this Grand Prix. And now we have one of them stricken in this race. He's going to be absolutely nowhere once he gets back to the pit lane. Thankfully, no one has run into the back of him. That was probably my main concern, making sure that no one got KO'd, because that so often happens with the AI. They do silly things sometimes, but Vettel did a good job to keep it out of everyone's way, and he can stay in this race, provided he can get back to the pit lane. But this is the end of that lap. We managed to catch up to the front runners now, Hamilton and Verstappen, running side by side. We set the fast side of the Grand Prix, 143.9. That's what clear air can do for you, and a bit of DRS slipstream from Perez. That was a huge leapfrog that I managed to get. I reckon I gained like at least half a second, maybe even close to 3/4 of a second. just from that slipstream on DRS alone. But this is Hamilton going round the outside of Verstappen at Eau Rouge. Can't quite make it stick. The Red Bull was better at the midpoint, and now we're getting boxed in here between the two cars. 3 wide just about. Let's see if we can sandwich our way around the outside heading into Les Combes here. There's a bit of contact up ahead. There's contact for us as well. That's ridiculous. At the Les Combes chicane, like 2 different incidents happening at the exact same time. This is the replay. 3 wide between myself, Verstappen, and Hamilton. And you'll see Bottas and Ricciardo squeezing each other out on the entrance to that corner. I get muscled off into the AstroTurf. They then have their own incident after that, and I kind of straight line and avoid the crash, really. So here's my replay. Yeah, they just both come over into my line. That was so weird. I don't know if there was contact on the inside that dragged them further to the left, but we had to take to the AstroTurf to really avoid all that, and yeah, we gained a couple of positions out of it. But yeah, we're going to press on. We didn't get a warning for illegal overtake. I honestly didn't know what to do. I thought about letting him go back through, but to be honest, they're in a different race to me. They're going to be stopping, I think probably now, actually, because they're on the supers. They are, yeah, they're pitted now. So really, it wouldn't have affected things all too much, just being on a completely different strategy to me. But lap 8 now, everyone on the super soft tyres are really starting to feel the effects of tyre wear now. Bottas now dives into the pits. We gained about a second on him on this lap, so he probably stayed out a little bit too long on his tyres. Raikkonen pits as well, and that gives us the lead of the Grand Prix. So Raikkonen was leading by quite a way over Bottas, and Bottas was leading over me until his tyre wear really kicked in on that last lap. But Raikkonen gets a front wing change. That's interesting, considering that he was leading by a mile after Vettel retired. Was there contact between the 2 Ferraris? I'm not too sure, but that's really going to bring us into the game now that Raikkonen's had some issues. Now Leclerc gets his front wing change. There's a lot going on in the pit lane at the moment, which could vault us up the order once we make our stop. We'll have to wait and see. But a lot of these guys going on to the mediums. We're going to be going on to the softs. We're going to be a lot... No, we're going on to the supers, sorry, in the next stint. But we're on the softs, old softs versus new mediums. I feel like we're going to be doing quite similar lap times, if I'm completely honest. But yeah, we got the 2 Force Indias behind me who haven't stopped yet. They're on a pretty similar strategy to what I am. Then we've got Alonso in front of the charging pack, including Raikkonen, Hamilton, Ricciardo. Virtual safety car.
The virtual safety car is out. Reduce speed and maintain a positive delta.
I'm not too sure what that is for, to be honest. That just randomly came out. But Alonso, that's perfect timing for him. He was coming into the pits anyway. That virtual safety car is pretty much going to gain him about 10 seconds. So he might be one to watch in the dying stages of this Belgian Grand Prix. Away we go for us once again.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can. Okay, some information on Raikkonen. They're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
Interesting. So Raikkonen's got issues. He now gets overtaken by Ricciardo, I think it is, on the inside there. Bottas just previously overtook him as well, so the woes for Raikkonen just continue after what was a pretty commanding position in the race that he had. It's interesting to see what's going to happen here. We might actually rejoin in the lead of the race. Look at the margin that we have at the moment. It's the best part of 20 seconds, and I've got to say that Spa isn't really a circuit that takes too much of a time delta when you make a pit stop, so we might actually rejoin in the lead here. Such is the benefit of the overcut being on the softs, the other guys being on the mediums and in traffic as well, plus Raikkonen getting his front wing change and then falling back in the field. So this is all really fallen neatly into my lap here. Rejoining on the circuit, we do get the lead again, so ridiculous. And we're on the super soft tyres to run to the end of the Grand Prix. It's pretty much GG versus the rest of the guys on mediums. So let's see what we can do on supers. We'll go for the fast start of the Grand Prix if we can. Purple to the first sector by 1/100th of a second. You can see the gap to Bottas is about a second already. I took that first initial lap just to save a bit of battery, save a bit of fuel more than anything, just so I can push for the next few laps and not really have to worry about conserving all too much and just see what I can do. But middle sector was pretty good. We're just stroking the car along pretty nicely, just making sure that we don't induce too much wheel spin or, generate too much heat in the tyres, because these tyres, can overheat pretty easily, so we want to make sure that we look after them. 1.3 seconds up at the middle sector split. That is absolutely outrageous. We're going to do like a 42, 41. No, the virtual safety car has to go and ruin our fun once again. And again, literally no one retired, there was no one going slowly, there was no local yellows at all, so I'm wondering whether that's the safety car glitch, the virtual safety car glitch from F1 2017. Rearing its ugly head again. I hope it's not, because that could affect league racing, but we go for green flag racing once again after saving a bit more fuel, letting the tyres cool out. We're hopefully going to smash in a personal best once again. This time we're only 8/10 up, so it looks like this lap isn't quite as good as the original one. Of course, the super soft tyres do die out very, very quickly, despite this car being absolutely amazing on its tyres. You know, yeah, this is not a versatile tyre. It's really just a qualifying tyre, so you really shouldn't run them in the race, but we are anyway. 42.5. Let's compare that to the previous lap. We actually lost 4/10 in the middle sector versus our previous attempt at the fast lap, so a real shame. The third sector could have even been better as well if we did the original lap without the virtual safety car. But anyway, I think it's going to be the fast lap anyway, so I mean, we can't complain all too much when we're only... It's all I have left to play for. The victory is pretty much secure. I'm not going to set another fast lap. There's not enough life in the tyres to do so. The gap is 6 seconds back to Bottas. My teammate is making his way through the field. This is now him overtaking Hamilton. He's closing in on the podium, but he needs to claw back a lot of ground to make that possible after the front wing change. So we'll see how that goes for my teammate. But for us, we're now just in cruise control. We're literally just looking after the gearbox, looking after the engine, doing minimal gear shifts as possible, looking after the tyres, even though they don't really need looking after. Just bringing it home. Bottas caught us by 2 seconds on the last lap, despite, you know, only running in gears like 5 to 8. But yeah, we'll just see if we can win the race by the smallest margin possible if we can. Bottas has got a little bit closer on this lap, so we might have to up the pace a little bit. But otherwise, we have this race pretty much in control. Looks like my teammate, though, the gap to Ricardo, looking at it on the minimap now, is absolutely ginormous. There's no way he's going to catch 10 seconds. So it looks like it's going to be P4 for him. Good points in the constructors. For us, this race just, I don't know, just completely fell in our lap. Last to first. Not too often you can say that. Thank you very much.
Superb driving. That's the race win.
That's it for another Grand Prix, and a fantastic win for Sauber. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we had a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it's fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
Looks like they're on their way out to the podium now, and what a result this is, and what a popular one with the crowd as well. Great stuff to see the Sauber team on top here today.
So it looks like in the end we got away with the disaster that was qualifying. That was really, really embarrassing. But we put all of our eggs in the race basket. We did the engine change. We had brand new components, which certainly probably added to our pace. We had free choice of tyre. We stuck it out. We were patient on the softs and then bolted on the supers. Overcut everyone who was doing, pretty shoddy lap times on mediums in traffic, and yeah, it just fell into place really with everyone else getting damage or punctures or just tangling up with each other. We managed to keep it clean and come away with a victory. What a crazy race. Charles gets P4. Driver standings, we lead by 45 points, so a pretty considerable margin in the championship now to Hamilton. Mercedes pace is still good at some points, but they're a bit patchy with their upgrades, it seems. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do in Monza, being one of the best power units on the grid. Surely that's got to count for something there. But our drag reduction upgrade, I've got to say, it's really allowed me to, I don't know, not lean so much in the corners. I don't have to rely so much on rich revs. I've just got amazing straight line speed, and I don't really need to push all too much to achieve some pretty good lap times, which is a pretty scary prospect heading into Monza, shall we say. But upgrade wise, we got 1500 resource points. I think I'm going to go for let's go for the major downforce upgrade. I think that'll come on in time for the Singapore Grand Prix. And when you think about it, we probably need a bit more downforce in this car. We were lacking a little bit in terms of raw pace at Hungary, and Singapore is a pretty similar track, so I'd imagine that downforce upgrade will come in pretty handy if it goes on the car. We have had a lot of upgrades go on the car. I think we might be due for one that fails, but hopefully that's not the case. So that'll go on the car. How many more resource points do we have? Only 410, so we can't do anything else this episode, so that'll have to wait until the next one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Last to first, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, pretty dominant victory in the end. Again, teammate having his issues, which prevented him from showing what he's capable of. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. Charles, you gotta sort your life out. Qualify at the front, stay at the front, and you'll win a race. Make it happen. But that's it for today, guys. Until the next race, the Italian Grand Prix. I'll see you next time.